Okay, there we go.
Are we ready to get started, Stephanie?
We are.
Cool. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome. I've got a really easy job tonight, and it's basically to say thank you to you for agreeing to be host families for our new members. I don't know if you all remember what it was like to join a church, let alone a church of any size, and at 1,500 members, more or less, Davidson College Presbyterian Church is among the top 100 churches by size in our denomination, and we're in the top 10% of communities of faith nationwide by virtue of our membership. The average size of an American community of faith in the United States is somewhere around like 150 to 160 people. So we're not a mega church, but we're not a small church. And for any organization of any size, getting inside and becoming part of that community, it can seem really easy when you've been in there for a while. But when you're the newcomer, people seem to speak a different language. They seem to know things that you don't know. And sometimes that can be really off-putting. And perhaps among the most off-putting things is you come into spaces where everybody's waving, shaking hands, asking each other questions, and you're not sure if anybody knows your name or if anybody knows enough about you to ask. And that's where new members, the host families, come in for our new members. You're not going to be the only point of contact for our new members as they become part of the life of DCPC, but you have a role to play in helping them to feel like they are becoming part of our community. Sometimes the role you play is interpreter. Oh, PW, that stands for Presbyterian Women. Circle, no, we don't necessarily sit in a circle of chairs, but circle implies the idea that we gather around each other and that we're a collective where we're facing one another and share with one another. And it's a women's fellowship group that also sometimes includes Bible study. So you're an interpreter. You're also an introducer. Oh, hey, Marianne, I would love for you to meet my friend, my friend Sean Samuelson Henry. She joined the church about 4 years ago. She's a part of my women's circle and would love for you to get to know her a little bit too. So sometimes you're also an introducer. I like to tell people that when you think about one of your ministries, it's to help people begin to embrace and embody and live into that 1980s TV show Cheers. Everybody remember Cheers? Yeah. I don't know if you remember the song, but the theme song said, where everybody knows your name. It may be that DCPC isn't a place where everybody knows our new member's name, but it should be a place where some people know their name. And that starts with you all as their host family. So thank you. The only thing I want to say before turning it over to Stephanie to talk a little bit about our process to at least help people begin to find their sea legs at DCPC. The only other thing I wanted to mention is that, you know, big churches sometimes have big back doors. We do a good job of saying, here's our new member class, here's our host family, here's a public worship service. We're so glad you're here. But the first Sunday that Sean Henry stops attending, and then it's a couple weeks, and she hasn't found her place outside of worship. And then, you know, you begin to wonder if nobody says we miss you, if nobody's called to check on you, if nobody's trying to introduce you to the groups. Maybe I wasn't a part of that organization after all. So again, not everybody's going to know our names at a church our size, but somebody should know our names. And it begins with new member host families, and that's you. I do want to say one thing about Stephanie's job description when it talks about trying to help folks find a place to get connected outside of worship. Back in the day, when there were a few more groups doing a little more research with congregations, one of the interesting statistics was that for every 6 weeks that someone did not become part of something outside of worship, it was a 50% less likelihood that they would stay members of a church. That if it was only worship and not a study, not a circle, not a fellowship outing, not a fill in the blank, every 6 weeks you cut in half the likelihood that they were going to stay a part of the church. So that idea of helping them find places where maybe they can connect outside of worship is kind of a spot where, you know, a little bit of traction in particular for people feeling connected to a church, because we do want them to meet people outside of you. And that doesn't come in worship. That really comes in smaller group settings. So with all of that said, last thing for me, I am not at all trying to create the impression that it's all up to you. The most important part of this equation is the Holy Spirit in partnership with our new members. So you have a role to play, but it's not all on you. But you have a role to play, and we're grateful that you're willing to do that. So Stephanie Malashevsky is going to talk a bit about that job description that she sent around, and we'll see if we can annotate it and answer questions.
Yes, yes. So let me see if I can pull
Thank
this
you.
up real quick. Somewhere. I think I have too many files open at one time. That never happens, right?
Stephanie, if you let me share my screen, I
go.
can put it up there. Did you find
There, I
it?
got it.
Okay.
There we go. Everybody got a copy of this, right? In your email?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So this is just really some hardcore logistics, because Peter covered the objective really well. So the first thing obviously is this Sunday. We're going to start at 8:45, and we have, now that we've come back to the morning for our classes, we actually serve a pretty heavy breakfast, hors d'oeuvres, and coffee. So you don't need to eat or drink before you come if you can wait till 8:45. We'll have lots of food and lots of drink. But this is the first time in my history, and I've been here 13 and a half years, that we're going to start in the choir room, because we have run out of spaces on Sunday morning. But the choir room is a great, lovely, large, bright, happy place. So I'm actually kind of excited about it. But just make sure you know. Does everybody here know where the choir room is in our building?
Yep.
Good. Everybody?
That's not everybody.
If you come in any of our sets of stairs and go up to the second floor and turn right, go to the end of the hall, you won't be able to miss the choir room. But just come up the stairs, turn right, all the way to the end of the hall, and you'll meet the choir room.
Yes, and we'll have a couple of membership committee members, Wynn Mabry and Lynn Snowa, who are going to be greeting and kind of guiding people.
Wynn-
So
Wynn
You should.
Mabry.
yes. So so that's the first thing, is to meet them on Sunday. You will be there for the first hour, so you'll be there from 8:45 till about 9:45. And during that time is when we have our introductory period. And I'm going to send you a script. There's like 4 questions that you answer. It's basically, what is your name? What is your hometown? And maybe there's one that I'm forgetting, but the big one is a little bit about your faith journey and how you got to DCPC. And that's my favorite question, because when you go around the room, you'll hear from the new members that some of them are, coming from Catholic backgrounds, Southern Baptist backgrounds, Lutheran, Methodist. We've had people that are unchurched that get baptized as adults in our classes. So it's really fun to know that not everybody was a cradle Presbyterian, but there are some of those as well. So I think it makes the new members feel better to know that they're not walking into a place that they have nothing in common with anybody. Because for some reason, our church is a wonderful melting pot, an ecumenical melting pot. And I think that hour that the new members get to hear other people's faith journey and how they ended up in the same place is really helpful to them. So that's going to be a part of your script on Sunday. And then this is a post-COVID thing. We have planned some meetings for you guys to get together with your new member family a couple of times outside of the new member class. And the first one is going to be on Wednesday, February 21st. We're inviting all of you to come to eat Wednesday dinner for free. The membership committee will pay for that. But that's just a great way. It's an easy, like, nobody has to think about cooking. You don't have to invite them to your house, but you get to sit down and eat together. And they not only get to interact with you, but they get to meet other members of the congregation. And several members of the membership committee will be there as well. So that's a nice, easy, no-brainer event just to get you guys back together. And then sometime in the spring, and for us, the spring is going to be a lot of fun with our new construction. So we don't know exactly when this is going to happen, but we will have the January class and also our April class of new members. We'll get together for what we call a new member host family gathering. And that's where we come together in the congregation house for about an hour. and we really just play games. We just do fun icebreakers. It's really casual. We have a few snacks, but it has become one of the membership committee's most favorite events because it's not a program. There's there's nothing heavy about it. It's just really fun and it's really well attended, and there's usually children there, and it's a good time. So we have not set the date for that yet, but we will, and that'll be sometime most likely in May or June. And then in the meantime, you can feel free to meet them for dinner or have them over, or really anything that the Spirit calls you to do with them. And the most important thing, I think, is just to check in with them. If you can worship with them, if you happen to attend the same worship service, that's just a nice, easy way to get together. But to just check in with them and find out, have they joined a Sunday school class, or have they become a part of a PW women's circle, or a men's night fellowship, or a choir, or a handbell group, and just check in with them and follow up with us if you can. So any questions about that? Beth and Jan, did I cover everything?
Yeah, great job.
Yeah, sounds good.
Stephanie, while
Yeah.
people think about any questions, one of the things that sometimes helps kind of frame, the role you play is, again, if you can remember when you joined the church, and some of you, it's been a little while perhaps, but maybe with any organization, but especially a church, what helped you, feel like you were finding your way? Who was someone that helped bring you in, and how did they do that? Like, that's one way to think about it. What was an experience that was positive for you? And that's an offering that you might be able to make for your host families. I mean, for your new members. And of course, like anything else, any relationship in life, there's a little bit of reading the room. Sometimes we get new members who, they're not that new. They've been with us for like 5 years. They might even be more ingrained into the life of the church than we are. They don't need quite the same new member host family experience as someone who moved to the area 2 months ago, or 5 months ago. And we have that whole spectrum in our new member classes sometimes. Sometimes people have been around a while, some people who are returning to us, or some folks who are literally brand new to the area. So there's a little bit of reading the room to figure out what might be helpful to them, depending upon how long they've been around. So that was just a little comment to make.
Yeah, that's a great point, Peter. We have an elder that was just ordained and installed in January, a couple of weeks ago, William Lee, and he was a regular worshiper for 8 years before I finally got him into a new member class. So yeah, I stalked him for 8 solid years, and he finally joined.
We had a new member at my former church, Debbie. Debbie had grown up Catholic. Jack, her husband, was a lifelong Presbyterian, and she didn't join for like 15 years, because she didn't want to serve on any committees.
We have a couple of those people now at our church.
I've also had people in churches where they say, and this is a slightly more somber, still has some humor to it, where they say, and it was a former church, and a guy said, Peter, like, I'm all in. I just can't join while my mom is still alive because she's a diehard Catholic, and it would kill her if I joined your church. But I'm here. I'm like, that's cool. It's all good.
Yeah, we actually have that too
Yeah.
right now. Awesome. So after all that, any questions from you guys?
Thank you.
No, great.
You. Yeah,
Right, thank
we
you.
just need to show up at 8:45 Sunday
That's
morning.
right. Ready for some coffee and some ham biscuits and some donuts.
That's right.
Looking forward to the experience. Thanks, guys.
Well, thank you all.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Go on,
Okay.
son.
Did it in 16 minutes. See, I told you it'd be short.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Good night,
Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.